Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 2055 Southeast 112th Avenue here in Portland. We are located, as you face the house from the street, we are located just off the back right corner of the deck. They were actually nice enough here to frame this little clean out in. This is super cool. I cannot tell you how rare it is that someone does the courtesy of doing something like this. They don't get hidden. These are very tricky to hunt down if you don't know exactly where they are and they get buried. So anyway, we're dropping into a 4-inch ABS cleanout. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero out the foot counter here at the base of the cleanout, and off we go. And at the end, we'll probably do a little bit of running backwards, to an extent anyway. I did notice too, there is a, I think it's kind of an auxiliary clean out, but there's also one in the bathroom. It's pretty easy to find. It's just you got a plug sticking out of the wall next to a bathroom in there. All right, going into some standing water here, which we will review on the way out when the line is fully drained. Right now it's going to be exaggerated looking because of the running water. Alright, so what we have here, it's like a vertical dive. Right now the camera's upside down, but if you were to opposite of where the flow line is, you can see how a pipe drops down here. What that often is a secondary cleanout access. When you have a configuration like this where a hard vertical dive and a hard turn usually requires a secondary access point. Alrighty, made it through there. That clean out access is designed that way. That's a very tricky turn to make. My camera amazingly made it, but a lot of implements cannot round those turns, so that's why you have that access point there. And then we transition over to 6-inch 30-34, and the main lateral is right in front of us right now. It's just up ahead. In fact, we're just going to stop here. I don't want to beat my camera up too hard. The main connection is about 4 feet in front of us. That's it right up ahead there. We're going to go locate the camera head really quick while the line drains off. We'll take a second look at everything as we come back. Alright, I got the sink turned off there. We're going to start pulling back in. Anyway, from this point on to the main there looks great. Just a few feet down line. And so if you face this house from the road, you have a driveway. It's a long driveway that goes up the right side of the house. Directly in line with that, if you go and follow that driveway out to the middle of the road, you'll see that there's a manhole that sits, if you were to draw an imaginary line from that private, or not private drive, I don't know what it is necessarily, but if you do an imaginary line right down the middle of that out to the intersection there onto Southeast 112th, you'll see a manhole sitting there. That's what you'll want to see. What that indicates is that the city has a main lateral going up that private drive there. Ideal scenario. So most of your sewer line here actually remains in the dirt other than a very short section. Maybe, I don't know, 6 to 8 feet approximately might be under asphalt. The rest of it's under just dirt, which is a really nice setup should you ever need to do repairs. Which hopefully isn't necessary, but it's an ideal situation for that. And so right here, just before the fence line, you're going to have another clean out access just before the fence. And sometimes they got to dive these lines down to a much deeper depth, and it creates a pretty hard turn, so that's why you end up with a secondary clean out. So got a little bit of standing water here. It looks like it persists up to about 29 feet. Looks like we're pretty much drained off here at this point. Maybe just shy of that. We might actually still have a little bit of water moving through here. Yeah, no, we haven't quite got back to it yet. I forgot we still have a little water trickling off there. Spoke too soon on that one. Ooh. What do we have here? I'm gonna have to locate this really quick. That almost looks like... yeah, something boogered that up. Alrighty. This spot located here. Yes, this is an interesting one. I thought this place looked familiar. It's been redone so effectively that it was hard to recognize when I first got here. This is actually a house I looked at. Oh, it's probably over a year ago. Before that, it was right when the place hadn't even been remodeled yet. Take a look at it, and at that point in time, we just had a little bit of a belly here, teeny little thing. And actually, something's just turned on inside the house. I think a dishwasher might be discharging. But, you know, I went back and reviewed that. There was just like a 1/16 of an inch of water here. It's very, very minor. But what was not there at that point in time was this. Something damaged this. And I just walked up along the left side of the house there and saw a pickaxe. And I was sitting there thinking, what could have plowed through this line to the point? It looks like whatever hit it punched a hole through the top of the pipe and through the bottom of the sewer line. Or at least hit the bottom of the pipe and busted it. I mean, you've got a hole in both top and bottom of the sewer line here. So anyway, being that that is the case, you know, exposing the pipe here, this is one of those situations where, you know, most repair guys are going to probably, because they have to dig this up and mess around with stuff, I'm going to map this out from where this little bit of standing water starts, because they may very well have to expose this much pipe anyway. On its own, this amount of standing water has zero bearing on functionality whatsoever. Just teeny little thing. And we still have what looks like a little bit of water going through the line right now. So all drained out. This spot right here was only holding a 1/16, maybe a 1/4 inch of water. You can go back and look at that old video. In fact, this actually may have increased the amount of standing water here. Both the shock of something hitting the line, coupled with the fact that the line is now open to the ground, which is likely loosening the soil up and may have caused this to settle a little bit more. The belly on its own, either way, is hardly worth mentioning, but it looks like it may have progressed a little bit because the line's open to the ground. When you get groundwater seeping in and or sewage escaping, it saturates the ground around the pipe, loosens things up, and can allow for progressive settling. So this is something I certainly recommend a repair on. Now, and the funny part about it is it is right where the belly ends. It's just a weird spot. All right, plus side here is the line is very shallow. It's just under dirt, 3 foot 5 inches deep. And I am marking this with red paint. Normally I use green. Somehow my supplier sent me the wrong color. So I put a red X down there. Now it looks like the line's pretty much drained off. So anyway, belly's rinky-dink, but if you're digging this up and exposing it, you might as well correct it anyway. And most repair guys are going to want to. Whenever you spot repair a line, it's a very easy scenario to undermine things and end up with settling problems. So that's what I would suggest here is if you're already going to be digging this up, you might as well deal with it. So the X that's closest to the road, or I guess furthest away from the clean-out access towards the street, is where the actual hole is. The X that's going to be closest to the clean-out that I'm going through is just basically where the standing water begins. All right, that's all mapped out there. About 3 foot 3 inches deep is what I get there at the start of that little belly. About 3 foot 4, 3 foot 5 inches at the end of it, approximately. You know, I mean, potentially you might be able to fix that. I just worry that you're going to worsen the belly, honestly. That's what I don't want to see happen. So at the depths you're talking there, you're really not talking a whole lot of extra work at all. But that is my main concern, is that in the process of doing that, spot repairs or situations, especially if you have someone who does not do it on a frequent basis, it's an easy situation to create a settling problem. So right here is where we go back into the house. We're going to the foundation wall here at this point. I'm going to go locate to verify that real quick. All right, yep, this is where we go back into the house right here through the foundation wall. In fact, this is the little bit of a drop here where the line starts to dive down. Just locate that at the foundation wall there. And again, little tiny bit of standing water here, very, very minor stuff. You know, being that this spot right here obviously does not have a hole in it, this is not one I'm concerned about you repairing. It's just about as minor as the other one. Subtracting the hole from the equation anyway. So from about, funny enough, it's like the exact same distance going the other direction. So from about 14, man, that is uncanny. It's almost the exact same length. And what are the chances of that? Identical lengths, 14 to 18 feet on both ends or both sides of this clean out. You've got an identical belly. Both very, very minor. Difference is the other one has a hole in it. So anyway, that belly there is far too minor in my opinion to require repairs. No need for it. Just the only stuff you see hanging up in standing water that minor on a consistent basis if you're dumping a lot of cooking oil and grease down the line, which is you should not be putting it down your line anyway. Otherwise, you should not put improper things down your line to begin with. But you know, a paper towel, for instance, would shoot through a spot like that just about as easily as if it had no standing water. It's that minor and has very little impact on flow. Anyhow, I recommend a rescope after any repairs are completed here to check the work. I'll show this really quick here just for any repair guys watching. So going away from the clean out, the line kind of goes up the side of the house, about, I don't know, halfway up the side over here, the line turns and shoots off to this little driveway over here. But right now, you can almost see the red paint on the ground over there. Very easy spot to get to. But I do highly recommend a rescope afterwards to check the work. Spot repairs, like I was saying before, are scenarios that can be very easy to belly out a sewer line accidentally if someone's not being careful to recompact the soil and regrade everything after it's dug up. So you want to make sure you rescope that, and you want to do that after the line is buried, not beforehand. Or you're not going to catch any potentially settling problems. Otherwise, the rest of the line here all appears to be in good shape, intact, and has good flow.